I'm Siboney Winter. I'm the Community Engagement Coordinator for Sustain Charlotte, and welcome to our workshop. I hope everyone has, this last minute to grab your cup of water, get comfy in your seat, and we're about to begin in less than a minute. Okay, so welcome to our workshop today. Beyond the Basics of Recycling, the 7 Rs of Waste Reduction will be presented by two Mecklenburg County residential recycling educators, Maitri Meyer and Walker Spruill. And they both have been sustainability enthusiasts for years, and both have really strong passions in education and reducing waste. So I'm really excited and thankful that we got to collaborate today. This is going to be a fantastic program. And I also wanted to introduce Meg Fensel. She's Sustain Charlotte's program director, and she's going to have a few brief announcements and some background for you all on Sustain Charlotte. So I'm going to hand it off to Meg, and everyone enjoy.
Okay, thank you so much, Siboney. Sustain Charlotte, if you're not familiar with us, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We were founded back in 2010. So it's been almost exactly 10 years that we've been helping the Charlotte area become a more vibrant and healthy and equitable place to live. And we do a lot of work to educate people about how their transportation choices and land use choices and just the way that we live our everyday lives affects the quality of life for not only ourselves and our families, but also for our neighbors and for the people that will be in the Charlotte area in future generations. So we're really glad to bring this topic to you today. And we have Maitri and Walker with us. They're going to present for about 30 minutes, and then we'll move to a moderated question and answer period. Walker and Maitri and the head of Mecklenburg Solid Waste, Jeff Smithberger, are with us, and they will be answering your questions during the Q&A. So as you have questions during the presentation, you don't need to wait until the Q&A to type those into the chat box. If you go down to the bottom of your screen, and everybody's configuration might be a little bit different, whether you're on a computer or an iPad or a Kindle, but somewhere towards the bottom of the screen, there should be a little word bubble that says chat. And if you click on that, it will bring up a box where you can type in your question. And we'll do our best to answer as many questions as we can with the time that we have available. So we are really eager to get to the information. This has been a very popular topic, and we actually had over 171 people registered. And we know that some people will watch the presentation later if they can't join us in person. So we'll be sending out a recorded version of the presentation afterwards. So if there's something that you didn't catch, or if you want to share the presentation with a friend or a neighbor who's ready to take that next step beyond recycling, please do that when you get your follow-up email. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it back over to Maitri.
That is awesome. Thank you so much, Meg and Siboney, for that great introduction. I wanted to officially thank Sustain Charlotte. Mecklenburg County Solid Waste Department is proud to be a gold level sponsor of your organization, and we really appreciate your assistance in educating Mecklenburg County residents to recycle right and reduce their overall waste. So I wanted to start out by giving a little bit of background about how this webinar came about. So originally, we were planning on inviting our Sustain Charlotte members and partners to come to the Metrolina recovery facility in person for a tour of the MRF. And, in our educational auditorium with hands-on displays and pictures on the wall to do the Recycle Right presentation. Then we were forced, due to the stay-at-home order, to convert all of our educational programming into online webinars. So we were thinking, okay, let's do the Recycle Right webinar via a Zoom call. And Meg and I were chatting, and we thought, you've been giving this presentation for over 6 months. You actually came to our November 2019 Grow Smart Charlotte event and gave an abbreviated version of it. Several people there actually went back to their homeowners associations and their faith-based organizations and invited you to come in. So I'm guessing a big number of our Sustain Charlotte members have already heard the content. So then we started brainstorming. Maybe we could do like a level 2 beyond the basics And I said, you know what really is in most demand is people just want to ask questions, kind of a Q&A, ask a recycling expert type thing. So we were thinking, let's just do a Q&A panel. And then we decided in the end, let's provide some content so that we can kind of create some conversation fodder, get people thinking, get them engaged, and then have them ask questions at the end. So we decided to open up the topic beyond just recycling right to waste reduction in general. So really trying to reduce the amount of waste that Mecklenburg County residents are putting on their curb that is hauled away by their local cities and towns. It is important to know that it's your local city and town, so it's Charlotte, Huntersville, Matthews, etc., that's picking up your yard waste, your garbage, your recycling, and your bulky items on your curb, and then they need to figure out what to do with it. Many of those items are coming to Mecklenburg County facilities, and that's when we get involved. So Walker and I created this pilot, what we're calling the 7'Rs of waste reduction program. And this is the first time we're doing it. And we're hoping that we receive positive feedback and some ideas and suggestions for improvement. And if there is enough demand, we'll take this one on the road as well, either in person once the stay-at-home order is lifted, or we can continue to do them virtually. So at the end, we're going to provide our contact information, and we really look forward to your feedback. So we'd like to start out by getting a little bit of a baseline idea of your recycling knowledge. So Sarah Ann, can you please launch the poll for our audience to participate in? So let us know what your familiarity is with the Recycle Right presentation content. We have 5 choices. The first one is you went to the MRF and you looked out the window and you were totally shocked when you saw what Mecklenburg County residents are putting into their bin. You're like, wow, that's a lot of plastic bags. It might be said at least 22 times that they do not want us to bag our recyclables, and look at all those bags. The second choice, you got to meet a recycling educator in person. Maybe we came out to your HOA or your Rotary Club or some other group that you're involved in, and we presented to you personally. Or the third choice is go ahead and vote whenever you have a chance. You attended a Recycle Right webinar live, just like you are this one right now, because COVID hit, so we couldn't do them in person. The fourth choice, you listened or watched the recording of a past presentation online. Or the last choice, it's still on your to-do list, you just haven't gotten around to it yet, and you're going to be watching the Recycle Right presentation in the future. Okay, Sarah Ann, does it look like most people have voted? If so, we would love to see the results.
It looks like people have not voted. If y'all could go ahead and put those in, I'll give you another few seconds.
Okay, I wonder if I have to vote. I'm voting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. For some reason, it's not coming.
Okay, so let's look at our guinea pig person, Kathy. Go like this if you can see the poll, and go like this if you cannot see the poll. Kathy, can you see the, oh, relaunch the poll for me, Sarah Ann, and see if it comes up.
I see the poll on my end. Oh,
I do too, but I'm wondering if it's only showing to the host. Okay, well,
Can you guys see that poll now? You can. Okay, great.
so go ahead and we'll give you a few minutes to read those over. You attended in person at the MRF, you attended in person at another location, you attended a live record or webinar, you listened to a recording, or nope, you haven't had a chance to do it yet.
I'm sorry, y'all. I think there must be something. I'm seeing people are voting, but it's not coming through on my end. So I'm not sure we're going to be able to see those results.
Okay.
I can share the results from my end if that would be helpful.
Yeah, go for it. It's showing me no one has voted on my end, but I know people have.
Okay, so the highest percentage, 52%, I haven't had a chance to see the full 40 to 60 minute recycling. 21%, I listened to the recording of a Recycle Right webinar or watched the video recording. And 18%, I attended a live Recycle Right webinar. 9%, I attended a Recycle Right presentation in person at another location. and 12% I attended a Recycle Right presentation in person.
Okay, that's pretty good. So for those of you that have not heard the content yet, I need to let you know that this presentation is not going to go into the details of what to go into your garbage can and what to go into your recycling bin. We're going to do it at a very high level, and I'll try to answer questions, but 90% of the questions are answered in that 40-minute presentation, and then we usually do a Q&A and we wrap up to make sure everybody leaves that presentation with all of their questions answered. And at the end of this presentation, we are going to give you the county's contact information where you can send additional questions after you've watched the material. So with that, we are going to get into the actual presentation. Hopefully my clicker is going to work here. So I wonder if this has to do with the poll type thing here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so those of you that participated in the Recycle Right presentation heard us talk about the 3 R's have expanded. In the past, we've always said reduce, reuse, recycle. And we expanded those to reduce and refuse, reuse, and recycle right. Well, we've decided to expand them even further. We expanded them to the 7 R's of waste reduction. Now, just so you know, there probably could be 15 R's to waste reduction. We chose 7 high-level categories, but we're going to be talking about some other words in between that just happen to start with R. So we're going to stick with 7 for now. And this is going to be the crux of our conversation today. So these are the 7 R's of waste reduction as put together by Mecklenburg County. I'm going to cover the first 3, which are the steps that are tied together, because this is what you need to do before you have a product physically in your hand. We're hoping that you're going to stop and think about your waste generation before you purchase it. So asking yourself questions like, do I really need this? Can I use something that I already have? Can I make it at home with less waste maybe? What other forms can I buy this in that either has no packaging or less packaging? Are there any refill, bulk, fill your own container type options for this type of a product? Or in the last case scenario, can I decide I am not going to buy that? I'm going to contact the manufacturer. This is one of my favorite products and I really want to buy it, but I'm unhappy with the packaging that they put it in because I don't have a way to dispose of that packaging other than in the landfill. So I'm actually going to reach out to them and let them know, please put this into a packaging that's easy to recycle or zero waste. The second one is really being conscious again about your consumption and trying to refuse things that organizations are giving to you that you may not want. So you want the product, but you don't need the plastic bag that the grocery store is giving it to you in. You might want that lemonade from the takeout stand, but you prefer not to have the plastic cup with the straw. You might want that ice cream, but maybe you can get it with an ice cream cone instead of an ice cream dish. So these are some ideas. Whenever you have a product that you really want or need to buy, you need to be thinking, how can I get that in a way that I can refuse as much of the disposable packaging as possible, especially the single-use packaging, plastics. So one thing that I've done is I've Googled zero waste and then the name of the product. So recently I Googled zero waste shampoo and I found the shampoo bars and I found some refill options at some bulk container stores actually here in Charlotte. I found several recipes to be making shampoo out of general household products like baking soda and lemon juice and things like that that I already have in my home, vinegar, things like that. But when you Google zero waste, it is really important to check the claims of the manufacturer to ensure that that product that you're buying truly is better for the environment than the alternatives that you're planning on buying, that that packaging truly is recyclable and put together in a sustainable way. So please always make sure that their claims are accurate and that it truly is sustainable. The third thing that you can do before you have the product in your hand is to think about reducing the amount that you're going to consume. So can I repair what I currently have so that I don't have to buy a new one? Can I repair my shoes? Can I mend my clothes? Can I repair an appliance? Can I find someone with that expertise to do that? Can I buy something secondhand from a resale shop? Because then I'm not buying a new virgin product. I'm buying something that's already been manufactured and will probably be disposed of otherwise. So I can go on Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or go to a donation resale store like Goodwill, Salvation Army, Crisis Ministry, places like that. Can I buy less of it? Do I really need to buy this much? Is there a way that I can buy less to ensure that I have less waste, especially when it comes to food? Walker's going to be talking about food waste in a moment. Can I buy it in another way? Like lettuce comes in these clam shells these days. Is there a way that I can go to a farmer's market and buy lettuce and put it in my own cloth mesh bags so that I don't have those plastic clam shells? I've started making yogurt at home recently because I could not throw away those single-use yogurt cups one more time. So my daughter got me an Instapot for Christmas, and I put in milk and a little bit of yogurt starter, and I make my own yogurt, and I'm saving those plastics. So those are some high-level ideas on how you can reduce your waste before you have the product in your hand. And Walker is going to come off mute, and she's going to present the next 3 R's.
Thank you so much, Maitri. That was really fantastic to get us started thinking about the products before they're even coming into our possession. So the next half of the 7 R's is actually what you do with an item once it is actually in your hands. So first one is rot. Can it rot? So rotting is a great way to reduce the amount of waste in your trash can. Most foods and liquids can be composted in your backyard or through a commercial composting company. If you think about all those veggie and fruit scraps, when those end up in your trash can, they are heavy and goopy and they stink. So when these items are composted, along with like leaves raked up from your yard and even paper products like napkins and paper towels, this waste turns into nutrient-rich soil for your garden. And the truth is that when these materials end up in the landfill, they produce methane gas, which is over 80 times more harmful upon release for the environment than carbon dioxide. So when you compost, this resolves a stinky, heavy, goopy, methane-producing problem. So next we step over to and one thing too is a big part of Can It Rot is use the stuff you have before you go purchase more. Make sure that you're using first in, first out. When food comes into your fridge, use it before it goes bad. And that is a huge way to reduce the amount of waste going into the compost. It's better to go ahead and eat it and use it in its original form. Which takes us to the next step, which is, can it be reused? And reusing is when you use an item again in its original form for its original purpose. So choosing to reuse items like coffee cups, straws, utensils, and zipper pouches reduce the demand on the production side and on the disposal side. Single-use items are a big problem in recycling and waste systems all around the world. These materials are not recyclable. So the next step is the landfill. Or can you reuse it? So yes, you can reuse single-use items like to-go containers, plastic cups. I even reuse plastic bottles for water that I get, but it's up to you. But even better would be to just go ahead and bring your own and don't even take that single-use item in the first place. So that's reusing. And finally, we get to, can it be repurposed? So this is where it's really fun because you get to get creative. A good first step is to look around and see what materials are coming into your home on a regular basis and figure out a way to repurpose them. Jars are great for repurposing for crafts, for bulk storage. They can even be used for storing leftovers in your refrigerator or freezer. Just make sure you leave room at the top for expansion. Got a shirt that has too many holes or stains in it, cut it up and use it as cleaning cloths in your home, your car, or in the garage. And don't have a clue how to repurpose that old laundry basket with a broken handle that frustrates you every single time you pick it up? Well, that absolutely cannot be recycled. So it must be repurposed or it will end up in the landfill. A quick search on the internet or Pinterest, and it becomes a pet bed or a mushroom garden. Truth is, you never know what opportunities are out there to reuse these items until we really start looking at using them for all that they're worth before we even release them to be disposed of in some other way. And then, yeah, we're going to head back over to Maitri. She is going to cover our 7th R of waste reduction.
Thank you so much, Walker. That was well done. So only after you have considered those first 6 R's of waste reduction, then you can start thinking about recycling right. So a lot of people are thinking, do I put this in the garbage or the recycling? And they think that's the #1 choice that they need to make. We'd like to kind of reframe this conversation so that people are really thinking about the 1 through 6 before they get to the 7th, because recycling right is the last chance you get before it ends up in the landfill. So since 52% of the people did not hear the Recycle Right presentation, and Walker and I talked at the speed of light, we are actually a little bit ahead of time. So I'm going to be able to give a little bit more detail on our review of the Recycle Right content than what I had originally planned. So our #1 request is please help us reduce contamination in the recycling center. As you heard in the Recycle Right presentation, our typical rates of contamination are 15 to 20%. During this current COVID period, it's been 20, 25, hovering close to 30% because people are putting their yard waste into the recycling cart. They're putting bulky items, they're putting electronics, they're putting clothing that they can't take to a resale shop because they're currently closed. So the MRF, the Material Recovery Facility, has had their daily tonnage just explode. They're working 2 shifts as many days as possible to try to keep up. So we're asking people, please, only put items that we can resell as a commodity on the commodity market into your recycling bin. And these come in 6 main categories. The first category is paper. And paper includes your junk mail, your newspaper, your glossy magazines. Yes, your business envelopes that have the windows in them, you can recycle those. If you want to cut the window out, that would be fabulous. That makes our paper more pure, less contaminated, so it's easier for us to resell it. Don't worry about staples. If you have paper clips and binder clips, please take those out. If you can rip out the staples, that's helpful. But any fibrous products that can be ripped, if it has fibers in it, it can probably be recycled with our paper products. The next item, the next category is plastic bottles and jugs with necks. And in the Recycle Right presentation, we go into why we can only accept these specific plastics in depth. So I really would encourage people to go back to that presentation so that I don't have to repeat it all now. There are some processing challenges, there are some market challenges, etc. So it's very important that we only put in our recycling carts plastic bottles and jugs that have a pourable spout or neck. Now, the most common question is, can I leave the caps on or do I need to take them off and throw them away? The answer is either way. You can throw them away or you can screw them on tight and leave them on. The only thing we do not want is we do not want loose caps in your recycling cart. And the reason is that we have screens. We shatter the glass and everything is put through screens, and anything below a certain size is going to end up in the broken glass pile. So things like shredded paper, food waste, bottle caps, plastic bottle, the caps on a plastic water bottle, those are all going to end up in the glass pile and contaminating the glass, making it difficult for us to resell it. Okay, the next high level category is cardboard. So that's both corrugated cardboard like you would get in a delivery box or a pizza box, and it also includes box boards such as a cereal box or a pasta box. Now, the most common questions we get about cardboard are, What about the pizza box? What if it's got grease in the bottom? Okay, we can handle a little bit of grease, but we do not want full pieces of pizza. We don't want pepperoni. We don't want cheese. We don't want sauce. We don't want goop. Okay, goop is not recyclable. We want the cardboard. The cardboard is a commodity that can be resold. So if the bottom of the pizza box is filled with grease and goop, rip that part off, throw that in the garbage, and only recycle the clean half, the top. When it comes to pasta boxes that have the little windows in them, again, if you can pop that out, that would be great. That would help us out. That keeps the cardboard bales more pure, less contaminated. But if you leave them in, it's not the end of the day or the end of the world for us. Okay, the next category is cans. Cans are highly recyclable. That means aluminum cans. That means tin cans, steel cans, and empty aerosol cans. It's very important that all of these items be empty. We're going to talk about that in a second. So aerosol cans, take off that plastic cap, throw it away, make sure it's 100% empty, and you can recycle that curbside. The fifth category is cartons. So that's things like milk cartons, juice boxes. Make sure you take that plastic straw out. We do not want the plastic straw, only the carton. That can be almond milk, soy milk, broth containers, any aseptic packaging like that, or coated paper, all fit into the carton category. And the final category is glass bottles and jars that are food grade material. We do not want a glass that you drink water out of. Not sure if you can see this. This is a different type of glass. We do not want glass plates. We do not want glass vases. Only food packaging glass. And it can be clear, amber, brown, green, doesn't matter. All of those items can go into your recycling cart. Please remove any bottle caps, twist off caps, corks in the wine bottles, all of those things we want removed. We only want the glass. So these are only 6 categories that we want. When in doubt, leave it out. And this is the #1 thing that I tell everyone in the Recycle Right presentation. I tell them this is the first time of probably 20 times you're going to hear this. We want your items loose in the cart, never bagged. If you see a resident on your street that has bagged their recycling and you're gutsy enough to go up to them and help educate them, you can say, did you know that those bags get caught up in the machines at the recycling center and break the machines, causing downtime and cost the county a lot of money? That's a whole 2 or 3 slides in the Recycle Right presentation, is the problem of plastic bags and how it can shut down the entire facility. So now at a high level, I'm going to tell you again, we would like these items to be clean, dry, and empty. So we want the can, not the dog food in it. We want the soda bottle, but not the soda inside of it. We want your cartons, we want your glass jars, but we don't want it filled with mayonnaise or peanut butter. Please make sure they're as clean as you can possibly make it, even if you need to run it through the dishwasher to get some of those really greasy things out, so that we can sort and process those recyclable materials and send them off to manufacturers that are going to turn them into new products. So that's a 1-hour conversation that I just overviewed in however long that took, a few minutes. And then if you have any questions, when in doubt, throw it out or give us a shout. Here is the Mecklenburg County Solid Waste Department contact information. You can call 311 or call us directly. Here's the email, solidwaste@mecnc.gov. And several people at the department are in charge of answering those emails. They will get back to you with answers to your general questions. Please go on our Facebook page and like the page, follow the page, and press share. We've had a lot of COVID-related announcements, some of which I shared with you before noon when people were logging in. And if you can help us get that information out by sharing our posts, that would be really wonderful. On the bottom of almost every slide, we've had the Maine County Solid Waste website, wipeoutwaste.com. That's where there is so many downloadable resources. There's a Wipeout Waste guide to help you figure out what to do with items that I can't put in my curbside cart. What things can I take to the full service drop-off centers instead? Or which items like medication. Might there be some drop-off programs in my local city or town? So there are several downloadable resources there, and there is a recycling pledge that you can also fill out there. And, you know, really state your commitment to recycle right in Mecklenburg County, so that we can continue to provide information to you. Let's see, I think that was it at a high level. So we have about 30 minutes left to go through any high level detailed Q&A. So I'm going to ask Sarah to come off of mute, and Jeff Smithberger, the head of the Mecklenburg County Solid Waste Department, to also come off mute.
Great. We've got a few kind of specific recycling questions. Anna asks, if I crush my aluminum drink cans, will they still be accurately processed by the machinery?
Jeff, are you there? I would actually like you to answer that question, because I've heard different answers.
I actually did and typed an answer in. Our equipment will separate aluminum cans better if they are left whole. Many times when they're flattened or crushed, the eddy current magnet separator that we have doesn't pick them up, and it requires a manual separation. So we do prefer whole cans rather than crushed cans, but we still try to get all of them. So if you feel that you just have to crush it because you need that space somewhere, I would likely resort to a manual sort by the staff that we have at the facility.
Great. Thanks, Jeff. Another question from Anna. Are spiral cardboard containers still recyclable?
If you're talking something like a Pringles can, yes, they would be.
What about like the biscuits that pop open?
We'll accept them as well.
Okay, but what about the metal ends? Just the
Those
cardboard?
will be, they're similar to the spiral cans of a Pringles can or so.
Great. Michelle asks, for home composting, can paper towels with oil on it be composted?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So you do want to avoid putting oils from meats in your compost, but you can absolutely have oil on there. You don't necessarily want to be pouring oil into your compost, because that's not going to work well with the microbes and things in there. But on a paper towel, absolutely. In fact, in the mornings, I wipe out the pan after the oil is cooled, after I make my eggs in the morning, and put, all that coconut oil right into my compost. So yes, absolutely.
Thanks, Walker. Let's see. I've got a question from Kathy about the plastic screw cap on milk cartons. Do those need to be removed?
No, you can leave those on. Just make sure that the item is clean, empty, and dry, please.
Correct.
Great. All right, we've got a question from Hope. She says, I've ordered refrigerated items from Amazon Fresh. They've dropped them off in big silver padded bags. Can those be taken to grocery stores that accept plastic bags?
No, those items, because it is a mix of materials, it is actually not going to be accepted. So best next step would be to, reconsider if that's the only way that you can receive these items, and then start to explore ways that you might be able to reuse that or repurpose it. There are many community groups that are feeding people, and having that little bit of insulation could be really beneficial to them being able to make more reliable deliveries. So start, thinking about how these items that are not recyclable can be repurposed.
Awesome. All right, Dustin has a question. He says, when choosing among product packaging at the grocery store, should we prefer plastic or glass? Example, peanut butter or salad dressing?
Well, I think that question really depends upon a number of different things. We only take plastic bottles with necks. If that particular plastic bottle has a neck, then it's perfectly fine, like a salad dressing, to put it in your recycling system. We do take glass, and glass is fairly ubiquitous in the fact that it doesn't really matter whether it has a neck or not, because glass is glass, unlike plastic that comes in many different types of plastic. So I always err toward the glass side of things just because I prefer glass as a product to deliver the goods and services that I use. I know that it can be recycled, and I know that it has an afterlife, where many of the plastics, you're just not sure of what they may be made of. And I also see the question that popped up about TV dinners and plastic trays and things like that. It also falls in the category of, gee, we just can't recycle them because there's not a market for them.
Great, thanks, Jeff. Scott has a question. He says, do you know of any Charlotte area grocery stores offering container refill services, like the Loop online service, but local?
So we do have a local business. It's not a grocery store, but it's a business called Good Earth Essentials. And they are supplying zero waste refills for cleaning products, shampoos, items like that, as well as teas and those kinds of items. So you can find them on Instagram. It's Good Earth Essentials. And that is a locally owned business. But I personally don't know of any grocery stores that are doing those kinds of refill services.
Great, thanks. Circling back to the conversation on glass, Michelle asks, are you reselling the glass or just breaking it and using it for weight in the landfill?
Well, I wish we could resell it. We do reuse it. There is not a market for glass these days where we can resell it. We actually have to pay someone to take our glass. We use a company in Wilson, North Carolina called Strategic Materials. And we pay Strategic Materials anywhere between $25 and $35 a ton to take our glass. And so, yes, we do ship glass out every day to Strategic, and it gets reclassified and sorted in their plant that they have up in Wilson.
Awesome. Allison asks, there was a paper shredding event scheduled for this Saturday at Valleydale Road location. Will it still occur considering the current COVID state?
No. We have closed down all of our paper shredding this year, and so we have not rescheduled, but I'm anticipating that if everything goes great with phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 openings, that we would be back to paper shredding in the September time. But at this time, Mecklenburg County will not be offering any paper shredding events until likely the fall.
Great. Sherry asks, I usually put smaller recycle items inside the milk jug to save space. Should I not do that?
You should not do that.
And on that same note, please do not put the cans back into the 12-pack box. Don't put the bottles back into the cardboard container. That makes it a little more difficult for the system. Everything needs to be loose. Don't put it in bags, even paper bags. Go ahead and dump those recyclables loose in the bin and recycle that paper bag.
Great. Got another question on what happens to some of the materials that get recycled. Got a question about how about post-consumer plastics? Do you sell it or do you pay to get rid of it too?
Depends upon the plastic itself. Some of the plastics, such as high-density polyethylene and polyethylene terephthalate, there are sales that we can actually get money for it. Different values of plastics are based upon everything from the color of the plastic to the type of resin that it is. Some of the other post-consumer plastics that we can't recycle, they go straight to the landfill. And that's what I wanted folks to understand, is that there's a specific reason why we're asking you to only recycle plastic bottles with necks. Those are the only items that we can guarantee that we can find a home for on the secondary recycling market. The other items we simply cannot, just because there is no market for it. And if we do not have a market for it and nobody wants the product or material, it has to go to the landfill.
And I also want to jump back to that idea of what's better to buy at the grocery store. So one of the things mentioned was peanut butter. Well, peanut butter plastic containers are not being recycled. They are not accepted in our bins, but the glass peanut butter containers, clean, can be put in your recycle bin. Just go ahead and unscrew that lid and toss it in the trash can. But it is that rethinking before you take it off the shelf.
Great. Linda asks, where can wine corks be recycled?
Those can be recycled at Whole Foods. Thank you, Anne, for letting us know it's still there. There's a collection in the wine section at Whole Foods where you can drop those corks off.
Awesome.
But they only want natural corks. The plastic corks are not recyclable. They are toxic, and they need to end up inside your trash bag.
Or reused and repurposed into some art project.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great. Jenna has another question on glass. She says, can it be broken and still be recycled?
Yes, actually, we break the glass when it comes to us because we do not generally recycle anything glass-wise in a whole fraction. So we actually have a machine at the MRF called a glass breaker, and so glass gets broken.
And if you want to make sure that your glass is getting recycled to the highest ability, there are large yellow collection points at the full service recycling centers that are for only clean glass. And remember, this is only food quality clean glass, not glasses and vases and platters. But those jars and materials, glass materials, can go straight into that bin, and that goes past the whole system so that is only clean glass.
Great. Going back to condensing recycling, Michelle asks, what about cans stacked within larger cans?
Generally, that will be fine. If you are putting two exact like materials together, that is okay. What's not okay is what Walker talked about before, which is if you put those cans in a cardboard box, because the system looks at the cardboard box, thinks it's a cardboard box, puts it in the cardboard box grouping of materials, but then when it goes out to be recycled, the cardboard box manufacturer finds that there's something weird inside of it, like plastic bags or styrofoam or cans. So when we say we want things clean, loose, and dry, it's specific for a reason. But if you have, let's say, multiple cardboard boxes, it's okay to put exact like things together.
Great. Dustin says, I have lots of sensitive office paper that needs to be either shredded or burned. Since shredded paper cannot be recycled, am I doing more harm by shredding it or by burning it?
Well, definitely we do not want you to burn it. It is against the law in Mecklenburg County to burn any trash. And so we certainly don't want you breaking the law, Dennis. But there are a number of places that will take shredded paper. Several of the grocery stores will take shredded paper. You're correct that shredded paper is something that can be recycled by itself. And there are, of course, companies, if you have an office setting, such as Shred It, which will come around to your house for a fee, and they will shred your paper for you.
Great. Anna asks, can you fold corrugated cardboard to less than 3 feet or must you cut it?
I'm sorry, the question was fold it to what?
Less than 3 feet or must you cut it?
That is a collection issue and not a recycling issue. And so different areas of Mecklenburg County, depending upon how they're collecting the cardboard, want you to put it into smaller pieces. But if you bring a piece of cardboard to one of Mecklenburg County's drop centers, we don't care if it's 6 feet by 6 feet because it goes into a separate cardboard bin. And so the other questions about cutting cardboard have to do with putting it into a can and then getting the can dumped out correctly when an automated collection truck collects it.
Great. Dave asks, are you familiar with some of the new products on the market with less plastic packaging, like laundry strips? They seem like a good idea, but also seem expensive from what I have seen so far. Any recommendations along these lines?
Well, ironically, I went from plastic laundry to the pods, and then I just got in the mail yesterday my strips. So I have not yet tried the strips, but I'm pretty impressed that in a tiny cardboard box, 6 inches or maybe 8 inches by 2 inches by 3 inches, 192 loads worth of laundry detergent. So yes, it is more expensive, but that's one of those things. Am I going to put my money where my mouth is, or am I not going to walk my talk? So that's a decision that I had to make in the house.
Siboney asks, have you tried the toothpaste tablets? I have heard those are very sustainable.
I love them. I don't use anything but them, and it drives me crazy that my husband still wants the tubes, because then I have to send those tubes somewhere to be recycled. But I use them for camping and traveling. It's super awesome for TSA. I mean, you can take those on an airplane without any 4-ounce liquid issues. Camping, you don't have to worry about anything spilling, and they're super light, they're super easy, and I haven't used anything but the toothpaste, the little tabs, for probably 6 months now.
Oh, that's awesome. Michelle asks, why does the metal lid on peanut butter need to go in the trash? Isn't it recyclable?
Do you want me to take that, Jeff, or you take that?
The metal, first of all, I've never seen a metal lid on a plastic peanut butter jar.
On glass.
No, on the glass jars.
Oh, on the
Like
glass one, okay.
natural.
Yeah, you can, absolutely. If you have that metal lid, it can be recycled in our system. That's
Loose?
fine. Yes.
Oh,
The metal lid can be recycled in our system. That's not a problem.
great.
Great. All right, from Kathy, we have, what do we do with paper bags?
I like to bring them home with groceries in them. They can be recycled as well if they're paper bags. If they're plastic bags, they have to go back to the grocery store, and they can be recycled there. But paper bags can be recycled with your residential waste collection.
Yeah,
And
it's a paper product.
And let's throw in here too, this is a good opportunity to reduce and refuse that single-use item and go ahead and bring your own bags. Or if you didn't bring your bags inside, load it right back into the cart, roll it out to your car, and load it straight in your car. It's just learning to make that shift between the easy choice or actually putting energy into it now so that we're not having to deal with the stuff later.
All right, from Pamela, we have, what about empty plastic prescription bottles and vitamin bottles, and also
No.
aluminum pie pans?
No, we unfortunately cannot take those. The only things that we take that are plastics are plastic bottles with necks. It's not looking like a plastic water bottle or a detergent bottle with a neck, we do not take it. Now, there may be some other things that you can do with it, but specifically, looking back at the 7'Rs that Maitri talked about earlier, there could be repurposing or other things that you could do with those, but they cannot be just recycled in our system.
And I used to go to a local pharmacy where they would allow me to bring back my prescription bottles and they would refill them and put a new label over the top of it. So it's worth asking. You just never know.
Great.
And the pie pans, the lasagna tins, and the aluminum foil, we get that question often. First of all, it's almost always contaminated with food waste. And second, aluminum in that form, we cannot take. The aluminum foil acts like paper in our system and contaminates our paper. Pie pans and lasagna pans are going to get crushed and act like cardboard and end up contaminating the cardboard. So the only aluminum products we want are in the form of a can.
And to talk about the vitamin bottles, Les pointed out that they usually, the problem with vitamin bottles is that they're too small. They fall through the system. So that idea of less than a third of sheet of paper, that kind of material is falling through the system and ending up in the glass, in our crushed glass, which contaminates that and is a bigger problem on the end. So that's why, even though if it has a neck, the size of that bottle, those little, like, you know, shot bottles of juice that they have, all of those are not recyclable in our system.
Great. Anna asks, is it more environmentally appropriate to use a lot of water to clean an oily salad dressing necked bottle, or to send that to the landfill? Balance of saving water versus plastic.
Walker, you want to attempt?
I would love it. So it is absolutely worth it to go ahead and wash out that bottle, but it's how we think about how we're washing it. So that bottle could potentially be set aside until you have a sink full of soapy water already, and you can wash that bottle. If you can't stand it sitting there, just fill it up a little bit with, you know, and rinse, shake it up, put the cap on, shake it up. It takes energy in the front end to reduce that waste of whether it's water or the plastic bottle, but go ahead and clean that out. I typically rinse it out 3 times. So first one, just this much water, shake it up, get the bulk out. And then put a little bit of soap in there, shake it up, and then do a rinse, just this much water. And that is, in the long run, that amount of water is being saved in the production and the extraction of these materials from the planet. We are acting like we always have these materials to make more. And we are recognizing now these materials are still super valuable. So let's focus on how we can reduce how much we're using across the board. But that's a really good point. It is oily, but we need that oil out of there, and we want that plastic.
And the City of Charlotte Water Department has asked us to add to that question that we like to reduce the amount of oils and fats that are going down the drain into the system because they're clogging up the pipes and the sewer system. So try to get that out some other way possible. So I give the peanut butter jar to my dog, and then I use a paper towel to wipe the rest of it out and throw the paper towel away. And then I use a couple drops of soap. So do what you can to try to reduce your water and reduce the amount of solids and oils and fats that are going to go down the drain.
Great. I think we've got about time for one more question. If someone else wants to put one in the chat, while we're waiting on that, I've got one for me personally. I know that the recycling rules can shift and change over time. Is there like a great place just to kind of find like an updated list or find out when those changes are implemented? Like, is that the Wipeout Waste resources you shared, or where would you recommend making sure we're up to date on current recycling standards?
The Wipeout Waste is actually the place to go in Mecklenburg County, because if you want to know what can be recycled curbside and accepted in that, we update our website very frequently. We have not changed the items that can be recycled in about a year. We're pretty steady on this course in the fact that we only want plastic bottles with necks. I will repeat that we do not follow the resin code identification numbers. So if you look at that little number that's on the bottom of a product, we don't follow that. We try to make it very easy and say just plastic bottles with necks. Any other type of plastic that does not have a neck does not go in our residential collection recycling system. Now, that doesn't mean that that item is not recyclable somewhere in the planet, but it means that our system can't take it.
Great, thank you. All right, we've got one last question from Rashina. Hope I'm saying your name right. Some cities have citywide composting. Will we ever have this in Charlotte?
Well, the citywide composting, if you're talking about for food scraps, is different from citywide composting for yard waste. We have yard waste citywide, countywide right now. That's one of the required things that we have. We have a rather large composting facility that processes over 100,000 tons of yard waste every year. There's a great organization called Crown Town Composting that already exists within the city. And if you'd like to use Crown Town, they will be more than happy to take your food materials. At this point in time, we don't feel it's necessary for the government to get involved because there's already a private entity in the city that is doing that.
Great. All right, we've got one more question from Anna. She says, when will Charlotte's recycling machinery get an upgrade?
Well, we hope that we'll be beginning to upgrade our machinery in about 6 months. Upgraded machinery may mean that we are able to separate things a little better than we do now. But because of the markets that exist, it may not mean that we can open up to start accepting other things. We are 100% dependent upon what markets that are available elsewhere that can take the products that we can make and that we can recover from the product stream that we get. So we're really hoping that manufacturers will step up their game, be more akin to product stewardship. If manufacturers would make things out of very common things and do so, it would make our life so much easier on the back end. And we are asking you, begging you to contact the manufacturers that are making these products and tell them that you do not want them made out of materials that cannot easily be recovered and recycled by folks in the processing industry.
Great. Well, thank you guys so much for your questions, and thank you panelists for all of your answers. And I think Siboney, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay.
Trying to go to the next slide for you, but it's not advancing. Let me try here. Okay, Siboney, I'll keep working on it. I might have to stop share and start. You talk.
All right. Well, I wanted to share that Sustain Charlotte has some more upcoming events that are virtual and some more workshops. So to please check out our Sustain Charlotte /events page, and you can follow us on social media as well. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and you can find some more updated information there. And we also are looking for more members. We have some great member benefits within Charlotte, and you can find out more about that on sustaincharlotte.org/membership. And we have our next event, and it's going to be Wednesday, May 20th at 4 p.m. It's bike safety tips while social distancing with Trips for Kids Charlotte. And they're a great local nonprofit, and they're doing a lot of great activities with biking, and that's something that we're actually able to do right now. So I kind of just wanted to give you guys a heads up. That's going to be a great event to attend. And overall, just wanted to thank everyone for joining. It's been a great conversation. I have learned a lot, and I hope you all have too. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yes. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day and recycle. All right.